What happened when you got back with Mom? As you grew, as you went through high school, I mean, you once feared the police, and yet you became them. You know, you feared authority, and yet you became the authority. You know, you try harder than anybody else. You always had to be, you know, better, whatever. Like, is this what manifested out of all this, do you think?
It did. I describe it basically as when my dad kidnapped us. He's basically this giant stone into our life. And what I call the second book I'm reading right now, which is Wakes and Ripples, is all those things that happened after the initial splash. And you're growing up when we were returned, and your father had gone to prison. You felt very guilty over that. It was your fault. My mother was married to this man that was very abusive to her because basically he marries her, her kids are stolen, and she's just a mental case. And so, you know, she started to drink, and she had the drinking problem. They did a lot of things like that. And also, too, when we were taken, she had another little boy who pretty much in many ways she replaced me as her gift from God. And so living with him, it wasn't that environment my grandparents had. It was every 6 weeks, every couple months, they got in a fight, and we moved. So once again, middle of the night, police are coming. This time it's, Grandpa's coming, we're leaving Bob, and take off. So we'd go from Tracy to Oroville, from Oroville to Tracy, and back and forth, and other places to Houston and so forth. And she was always moving because of, she never got out of that survival and abusive state. And so growing up, I mean, at one point, 13, I was working full-time, paying rent, and actually, it was at 15, I came home one day from school, and I was moved out to the garage because Mom needed room for her choir stuff. But she just became very, I don't say narcissistic, but very much, you know, self-absorbed. And I ended up going to the military, which for the most part really saved my life because of, I say, lack of counseling, lack of all these other issues. I became a very destructive person, and so going to the military really saved my life. And then I guess I had this natural instinct to want to help people, and that basically made it where I ended up going to emergency medical school, became a medic. I moved to New Mexico, and of course, they didn't really have paying jobs for that, so I became a deputy for the county there, working at the detention center. And that was the odd thing about the fact that you grow up hating the police, but also, too, by being the police and being someone of authority, no one ever questions you. You look like someone you would want to touch or hurt. And that was, I think, always with the uniform. I felt invincible. I felt like you couldn't approach me. And in that, I could actually hide how I really felt internally. So that, to me, was how law enforcement kind of came about, was it gave me this altered ego that I could live inside of, and no one would question that I was actually inside a very, you know, I'd say a shattered child.
For you, I would say that the idea of love hurts. Love hurts. You know, love is something that can potentially really hurt you. What do you teach your children?
With my children, I take a different approach. When my daughter was born, I didn't really have parenting skills, so really. So I saw a counselor, I read some books. And with my kids, I tell them, if you do something wrong, it's okay. Just talk to me. Every night when we talk on the phone, because I'm divorced or remarried, I sing "You Are My Sunshine." And I try to be very loving. I also try to tell them, you know, that I understand Daddy's going to make mistakes. But I'm human, but I make mistakes. And even as them being young like they are, I want them to know that if Daddy does something that's wrong and you don't like it, ask Daddy. Because I don't have all the answers. And I can't run around telling them, you know, if you don't listen to Daddy, you're going to go to hell. You don't do this, you're going to go live in the garage. I want them to feel love. I have two.
You have two. So you have two from a previous marriage?
I do.
Okay. And then in this marriage you don't have any yet?
I don't have any.
Okay.
No, I have my daughter who's 11 and my son Sam.
Okay.
He's 7 and actually it's Abby. Abby is 11.
Okay. Great. Beautiful. Nice. And you see them often or no?
I get them during, when they're not in school, during my custody. Their mother lives in Missouri at an Air Force base. Her husband is in the Air Force. So actually right now they're here with me on spring break.